I didn't want to get today's show off to a bad start, but your take on George Michael is it's going to be a burr in my saddle, Godfather.
The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
Talkman waits. Helsley deals. Line drive. This is a base hit down the left field line. Cubs are going to walk it off. Swanson scores. Cubs win.
The goal is to put the work in. You want to put the work in and let the work have confidence in the work, rather. Put the work in and have confidence in the work.
That's Robert's decision. I've never told him I don't want to play in the preseason. There's a lot of thoughts about whether there's any particular gain from it. Yeah, we used to play all the time.
Boxing is violent. The whole idea in boxing is get in the ring and hurt the person you're boxing.
All right, what's going on, my friends? Happy Friday to you. Another spectacular day with warm temperatures. Godfather, tell me you're not loving the heat out there, baby.
I love it. Actually, taking a big chance today. I'm wearing shorts and a T-shirt into this frigid studio again. So we'll see how that works out.
Boy, I tell you what, I don't know how it happens. I don't understand the game of golf. It's a very weird mistress. But after a month of really frustrating golf, and it all culminated in that mess that I had at the beginning of the week out at Rose City with the rain and the this and the that. I'm back, baby. I'm back. And it all started yesterday when I got up and I was like, I felt good. I had a great warm-up. And coming off that 43 putt performance on Tuesday, I was like, okay, this can't happen again. So what I did, I got to the course a little bit earlier and got my warm-up done, got my body ready, and then I spent probably 15 minutes on the practice green hitting putts. And what my coach has got me doing is I pick a hole on the putting surface, the putting green, and I measure my putter out from the side of the cup to the right, and I put a pin down. I measured out putter length to the left side, put a pin down, and then I measure back a putter length from both of those marks straight back. So you're creating basically like a rectangle around the hole. And then the idea is to putt multiple balls and try to fit it, if not in the hole, within that rectangle, because that's kind of the circle of friendship right there. If you putt it within that range, the likelihood of a two-putt is going to be very high. And so I have changed up my warm-up routine to include more putting. And after what I did yesterday, I was like, okay, this feels good. So I felt good yesterday.
How
felt
many
good
putts?
today. 31 and 31. So it's good. You got to love that.
From 42 to 31.
No. 43, Godfather.
43, okay.
Yes. Don't shortchange me.
Yeah.
43.
So you saved a dozen strokes just on the green.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty good. What did you shoot?
Well, I've broken 80, so I'm feeling good. Back in the 70s where I belong. And it had been a month dry spell where I had kind of come close. Had a couple of rounds where I was at 80. Had a couple of rounds at 81, but I couldn't break through. Had a couple of bad rounds. And so it was frustrating, but to finally get back into the 70s and playing free. And, it all started with you and Glenn just reminding me, like, don't worry so much about the scoring. Just relax.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing. I'm having fun again because I'm not focused on the frustration. And then with that has come a more freeing experience. And then that, on top of that, getting up in the morning early, and it's warm outside. Mm-hmm. And then not only that, but teeing off earlier, like around 6:30 and getting done in 3:15 to 3.5 hours. The whole scenario is great.
Yeah.
If I can play in less than 4 hours, that means the pacing is good. You're walking up, you're getting over your ball, you're hitting your shot. There's no thinking, there's no waiting, no nothing. I love that. There's nothing better.
Were you first people off the tee?
No.
No,
There are
somebody
people
had
that
you?
go out. Yeah, there are people that get off prior to 6 a.m. right now because the sun's coming up so early.
Yeah.
They get out early, 5 o'clock hour. And these are the people who they go off by themselves and they get around. They probably play in less than 3 hours because they don't have to wait on anyone. And there's some peace to that. I just don't want to get up that early, right? Getting up and teeing off at 6:30, that's a 5 o'clock wake-up call. But if you're teeing off at like 5:15 or whatever, that means you're getting up at like 4:30. That's too much.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill myself. All right, we got a big show today. I want to play this for you. You sent this over to me. This is actually really good because I'm still trying to figure out the new kickoff rules in the NFL.
I think even the NFL guys are still trying to figure it out.
I read through the entire breakdown on NFL.com. I got done. I was like, wait, what? I have no idea what's going on. But this is a great breakdown. The 49ers special teams coach, Brian Schneider, he was doing his press conference after practice yesterday and just kind of broke it down in terms of, what he's looking for, some of the different philosophy. And I think he kind of simplifies it to where you can understand or at least know what to look for when the season kicks off.
Yeah, I thought he was very transparent with it, Chad. I thought he did a really nice job.
All right, let's take a listen to Brian Schneider at his press conference.
A target practice, basically, instead of hang time is out. Doesn't matter.
And from what you've seen,
good. Yeah, no, good. That's something he's been working on all summer, and he's been preparing for it, and that it just changes. Their whole lives, kickers have been told hang time number one and placement, and now hang time's out, so it's really just placement.
Have you done any research on defensive guys who have played soccer?
We ask everybody, and you have to have a guy to do that. And I think with the position player, if you had one, there's just a lot that goes into it, through the game, if he's playing, if he gets sore. And, it's if you get outside the target line, if you get outside the 20, that's a pretty big penalty starting on the 40. So that's going to happen too with guys that don't kick every day, So we don't have a guy, but we'll see who does it.
I'm sure you saw Debo lobbying for getting some kickoffs. So I'm sure that decision will be made by Kyle. But is there something to that where a guy powerful like that can hit the middle and only the kicker is going to be there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that nobody knows what it's going to look like. The one thing I do know, though, is you have to have returners that can get to the ball. Just with what I said about the kickers, when you take hang time out of it, it's going to start in simplest form to me as a kicker and returner game, because they're the only ones that can move until the ball either touches somebody or hits the ground. So right there, simplify that to me is like, okay, that's where it starts. So that's where the game starts.
All right, that's Brian Schneider of the 49ers. Very interesting stuff, and you can tell that he's a smart guy and he's had a chance to think about this. But what jumped out at you at his comments there about the new kickoff rules?
Yeah, two things, Chad. Number one, the idea that hang time is – you don't want hang time now, really. You probably want the ball to get to the receivers really quickly, don't you think? You'd want to hit a line drive down there so that maybe they can't get to it. And then you at least bring the ball out to the 30, I think it is, or is it it's at the 20 if you kick it through, I think.
Great. You're going to ask me specifics, and I don't have them pulled up in front of me. I hate it when you do that.
But I just think the idea of having quick guys, and I think, too, the idea of having a position player be the kicker for those kickoffs would be interesting, because he is a real legit safety on that kickoff, because all your other guys are lined up in a line very close. And if the receiving team can bust through that line, the kicker's the only guy left to make a tackle.
All right, let's go through some of the rules again since you brought it up. Landing zone is the area between the receiving team's goal line and its 20-yard line. Any kick that hits short of the landing zone, treated like kickoff out of bounds, and the ball is spotted at the 40. Ooh. So I think the best way to explain that is if you kick it short of the landing zone, outside of the 20, then that's a big-time penalty because the offense gets to take over at the 40-yard line. And in the NFL today, that's almost instant points, right?
Yeah, 2 first downs and you got a field goal at least.
Yeah, so you got to get it into the landing zone for sure. Any kick that hits in the landing zone must be returned. Any kick that hits in the landing zone and then goes into the end zone must be returned or downed by the receiving team. If downed, then it's a touchback and the ball is brought out to the 20-yard line. So
that would be preferable, I think.
Yeah, if you down it in the end zone, then it is brought out to the 20-yard line. Kick hits in the end zone, stays in bounds, returned or downed, then the touchback to the 30-yard line. So if the kick hits in end zone, stays in bounds, returned or downed, if down, then the touchback brings it out to the 30-yard line. Any kick that goes out of the back of the end zone, in the air, or bounces, it's a touchback and brought out to the 30-yard line. So what do you think is the proper strategy here? You don't want the team starting out at the 30?
No, the way, if the ideal way would be to have it land in the landing zone, then go through the end zone, because then it comes out to the 20. So that's why you have to have 2 receivers who can get to the ball before it does that. Catch it, grab it before it goes into the end zone and then out the other end of the end zone. Or, there's problem for the receiving team.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is, like, how are the return guys not going to field the kick? Like, if you kick it down there, how are they not going to be able to grab the ball?
That's a lot of field to cover if you're not getting hang time. If you're kicking a line drive that lands in the landing zone and you get the good bounce on it, I think there's a chance that it just goes right by those guys.
So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, what is if you're a kicker, like, what is the best plan of attack then? To avoid the return guys and try to kick it, bounce it in the landing zone, and then have it roll out of the end zone?
Yeah, I think when he talks about being able to locate where your kick's going to go is very important now, because the receivers can't move until the ball is kicked, and they wouldn't want to because they wouldn't know where the ball is being kicked. So theoretically, you got a chance to get the ball by him and then into the end zone. But the big thing is make sure it's in the landing zone one way or the other. If it's not, you're really in trouble.
Well, I don't know how you could kick it short of the landing zone. Like, you'd have to be a real dum-dum to do that, right? I would rather just use too much power, because if you kick it out of the end zone, the ball comes out to the 30.
Right.
That's a 5-yard difference from what touchbacks were last year, which brought it out to the 25-yard line. So let's say you get a little bit too strong and it comes out to the 30, big deal. That's better than kicking it short and having it come out to the 40.
Some people are saying that they predict that's what teams are going to do, Chad. They'll just line up and kick it out of the end zone just like they did before.
And just have the ball brought out to the 30.
Yeah. Rather than take the chance on having it come out to the 40.
Unless you've got a kicker who is really good at being able to kick it, bounce it in the landing zone, and have it roll out the end zone.
Yeah.
Now, I'm
But the problem, anytime you kick it in the landing zone, is you're taking a chance on the guy returning it, too. And I think of the balls that end up in the landing zone, we're going to see a much greater percentage of those returned, not for a touchdown, but for probably a good chunk of yardage.
Okay, so now I understand it. So if you kick it short, if the ball bounces outside of the landing zone and then rolls into the landing zone, that's the penalty.
Yes.
You have to land the ball inside of that 20-yard space from the goal line to the 20.
Yeah.
If it hits short of that on the 21 or the 22 or the 20 and a half,
right,
the ball comes out to the 40.
It's a target kick. You got to hit the target or you're in real trouble.
Okay, so the other day when we talked about it, it just annoyed me to talk about the new rules. But now that I'm thinking about it, just the element and all these variables, it's exciting to think about, because it's going to bring real strategy into the game. When you get into those spots, let's say you've got a touchdown lead close to the end of a game. You score a touchdown, you go up. Okay, what do we do here? Do we kick it? Or what if you kick a field goal and you're up by 3? And there's like a minute and 20 on the clock. How do we play this? Do we risk kicking it short of the landing zone and having them get the ball at the 40? Do we just blast it out of the back of the end zone and have them come out to the 30?
I think that's what teams might do. Because you're also, if you kick it where they can return it, the chance of a good return is much better now than it was last year. That's why they changed the rule, because they want more kickoff returns. So you're taking a chance if you do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that teams won't just look at it and say, F this. We're not going to risk a big return. We'll just boom it out, and our defense can get the stop even if they line up at the 30.
My guess would be after the first couple weeks of the season when teams have tried this, they'll just kick it out of the end zone and say, take it on the 30. That's fine.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to the Friday show. So we're going to keep things rolling here. Coming up in about 1 hour, a very special guest who's been a public servant, a teacher, and a coach in the area for 30 years has got a very special story and a very important call to action for me, for Godfather, for all of us. Jeff Roney is going to join us in the studio and share his story, something I think you'll enjoy. Let's keep things rolling here on a very smooth, yacht rocky type of Friday here on the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive, Dwight and Chad. What were you just saying, that the new NFL system might be the Hawk Tua system? Who came up with that?
I don't know, but it's all over social media. That's all I can tell you.
All right, so what I'm looking at here, I hope this is real, but apparently there's a hot dog stand. I'm not really sure where it's at, but it's called the Wieners Circle. And
Good one.
and which is a great name. And they also have a little V for Vienna beef, so they serve quality wieners. But on their sign, it says, "We don't hawk Tua on our wieners." I like that. The NFL should call it the Hawk Tua system.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I think that they should do that. So there you go. All right, let's get to Aaron Rodgers. I love this. Aaron Rodgers is a master's class in quarterbacking, and he's been doing it for a long time. He's really good at his job, and he's also a really good leader. And I know that there are people that don't like Aaron Rodgers because of a variety of different reasons. One, maybe because he was a Packer and he used to beat up on your team all the time and you hated that. Maybe you don't like his political takes, or the fact that he goes on darkness retreats, or that he was in Egypt looking at the pyramids when he should have been at OTAs. Maybe you don't like his stance on the vaccine, or whatever the deal may be.
You mentioned a lot of things people could be unhappy with.
There's a lot. And that's just a small little portion. There's a lot more, too.
Yeah.
I like Aaron Rodgers, and I love great quarterbacks, and I like watching them play, and Aaron Rodgers is absolutely one of the best. But no matter what you think about him for what he does off the field, make no mistake about it, when he's on the field and he's communicating with his teammates, he's at the top of his game.
Oh, yeah. He gets that.
Yes. And the beauty of it is that his teammates know that he is going to put them in the right position to win games, to move the chains, to score points. And then if you're looking for individual accolades, like let's say you're a wide receiver like Garrett Wilson, you want Aaron Rodgers on your team because he's going to get you the football, which is going to increase your season totals, which is going to eventually impact your paycheck. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And players love that type of situation. Now, we saw this a couple of days ago at Jets camp where Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson were having a spirited discussion about a particular play. Is that how you would describe it?
It almost looked like an argument, yes.
Yes. Well, here's Aaron Rodgers explaining that situation, and then we're going to hear from Garrett Wilson. But just take a listen to Aaron Rodgers. This is how you handle the press when you're talking about your teammates. This is how you communicate, and this is what leadership looks like at the quarterback position. Here's Aaron Rodgers. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's often appearance versus reality in life and on the football field, and what it appears to be might not always be what the reality actually is, as far as whether or not we're upset with each other or just passionately talking about the details of a situation that might not have to do with either of us. So G and I got a great relationship. We spend time together off the field. On the field, there's a way of doing things that we both agree on. And when it doesn't look exactly how we want it to, sometimes there's some side conversations that happen. I love those conversations, though. I mean, it's about the details. It's about winning. It's about seeing what he sees. You know, he's got to get on my page, but I got to get on his page too, because he's got a whole book that I need to understand fully of skill set and ability and feel and rhythm and all the different things that he does out there. So those are good conversations. They might appear to be much more heated than they are, but there's usually a smile on our face afterwards, at least one of us. I enjoy those. I love a good back and forth, as long as at the end of it we can either agree to disagree and revisit it later, or come to some sort of middle ground there. Those are often during transitions in the day practice, so there's time for that. And then for the most part, we'll revisit those back in the meeting in the afternoon or at nighttime or a text message or a meeting in the morning. So it's never just one conversation.
All right, there's Aaron Rodgers. Godfather, the way I read that is that Aaron Rodgers has got the final say. And and he's going to get his way, but he wants teammates who will challenge him, who will engage in discussion in order to try and figure out exactly where they need to be and how things need to be done to make sure that they can do it the right way to have success. And I like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to educate those guys.
Yeah.
And communication is a big part of education.
Yeah.
So when they are not getting it right, they need to say something to him and he'll straighten them out. But as far as having the final say, he is the de facto offensive coordinator. There's no question about that.
Yeah, and you want that. I mean, that's a luxury as a coach to have someone like Aaron Rodgers on the field because he knows the offense inside and out, and he knows exactly where all other 10 guys who are on the field with him, where they need to be, what they need to do. He understands all their assignments. That's what being an elite level quarterback is all about, is that you know what you need to do, but you also know what each of your teammates need to do, and you can direct them when they're off, especially if you're working with younger guys. And he even mentioned about the skill set that Garrett has, and you were talking about that. Part of that skill set's the speed, right? And that's something that Aaron Rodgers has to adjust to because Garrett Wilson can run.
Yeah, he was saying earlier in camp that he was underthrowing him a little bit because he didn't realize how fast he was. He's got to throw the ball quicker to get to his deepest spot where Wilson will be waiting.
Yeah.
You know?
But what I like about Rodgers, he could, if he wanted to, be like, look, Garrett, we're going to do it this way.
Right.
And don't talk to me. Just go out there and do it this way. But he didn't do that. He allowed for the discussion. He allowed for the debate and for Garrett to share his input. And I think quarterbacks who have that type of feel for their teammates, that's critical because you want them to feel like their input is valid, that they can come to you with questions, that if they're frustrated about something, they can let you know about it. And you got to have that freedom to be able to do that, even if you're talking to the guy that's got the final say. I think that's Aaron Rodgers. This is not his first trip around the block. He's been there and done that. So he knows. He knows how receivers work. And you and I have talked about this. Receivers it's a weird position because you're reliant on everyone else to do their job to make sure that you get the football. And then you need the quarterback to throw you the football. And there's times where you're open and the quarterback doesn't see you or he doesn't have time and it doesn't work out. And the receiver is still, he needs other people for him to be able to do his job. It's a weird position. You're out there on an island and you're kind of programmed as a receiver to be like, hey, get me the ball.
Don't you think they're the most selfish guys in football?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it.
They want every ball going to them.
Of course, especially when they feel like, hey, I can help us win. Get me the ball.
Yeah.
Well, here's Garrett Wilson sharing his side of the spirited discussion with Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, those videos, they look a certain way, and we're both passionate guys out on the football field, and I mean, I was just telling Jared, like, I'm a different guy out on the field than I am, whenever y'all see me after the game or whenever it may be, and Aaron's kind of the same way, so it's really just a conversation that we're both like-minded, we're trying to figure out a way to attack our defense, and he'll tell me why he needed me at this depth, I'll play receiver, so I'm like, man, I was open here, that's just how I am, and with that, it may look how it looks on social, and honestly, I try not to worry about it too much because it's not real. When me and him are out there having those conversations and getting the way we are, we're getting better. We're getting better. We're gaining an understanding for each other and the way we go about things, the way we think and interpret the game. So it's truly enlightening for me every time we have combos like that. And, despite how it may look, and just because I am an emotional, passionate guy, so when we lose, and I might look a certain way, but in reality, all those conversations, those things are helping me, to be better for Aaron because he can make your life real easy. So for me, it's my job to be on my details, and he's been on me about those details. So just making sure I'm checking in with him after drives, after plays, after we. I feel like I left something on the field because I want to fix it.
There's Garrett Wilson. That's a smart young man right there.
I was just going to say the same thing, Chad. He understands. That's two smart guys getting together.
Yes.
They'll definitely find a bridge to, I think, greatness. This kid, Garrett Wilson's going to have the best year he's ever had.
And you heard what he said. He goes, hey, if you do your job, Aaron Rodgers is going to make your life easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about. And this is what being an elite quarterback is like, where if you make plays and you make teammates around you better, that they will allow Aaron to bark at them when they need to be barked at. But Garrett Wilson's smart enough to know that, like, I got to check myself at the door, and I need to listen to him because he knows what he's doing. And if I listen to him and he and I get on the same page and I run the routes at the depth that he wants me to run it at, he's going to find me open and get me the football in a position to make plays. Garrett Wilson gets it. He knows. Going from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers is That's it. Not even the same thing. It's like a different stratosphere. It's got to be mind-blowing for good players like Garrett Wilson to be like, wow, I didn't even think about the route like that. I didn't think about that depth. I didn't see it that way. Aaron Rodgers is a smart guy. It's awesome. I told you, Aaron Rodgers, he learned from his defensive line coach when he was in Green Bay at a young age before he really, got off and going in his career, how to look at the front and the way they're positioned. And he reads the front, and based on that, he knows what the secondary is going to do, which he said allows him to have his back to the line of scrimmage on play actions and different type of plays they're doing. So when he turns, he already knows based on the pre-snap situation what the secondary is going to be doing. That's high-level stuff.
Yeah, it certainly is.
And Garrett Wilson sees that, man, I got to – if I do my job and I run the routes the way I'm supposed to, Aaron Rodgers is going to give me the ball.
Tell you, you see how hard it is to be a rookie quarterback. It'll take Bo Nix or even Caleb Williams a couple of years to learn all the stuff that Aaron Rodgers knows.
Yeah, that's why the greats that we've seen recently, whether it be Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning, their brains and their understanding of the game is just on a different level.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they know it better than the coaches do.
Oh, yeah. Peyton Manning's calling plays at the line of scrimmage. Towards the end of his career, he's calling almost all the plays at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, the offensive coordinator was just a suggestion maker, but he was the one doing it. But you and I mean, we can relate to this. You and I have spirited discussions all the time before the show about different topics or things that we want to do. And we have a spirited discussion, but it's all in an effort to get on the same page so that we can, when we're on show, can execute.
Well, it's all about doing a good show, and as long as that's the goal, it's just like those guys, the goal is to win games. As long as you have the same goal, you can get there.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, man, that's really what players care the most about. Is this guy going to help us win? Is he going to make plays?
And can I make some money off
Yes. And at those three things, we're going to win, I'm going to make plays, and because of that, I'm going to make more money.
Next contract's going to be sweet.
Yes. That's why you will embrace a guy like Aaron Rodgers all day. Yes, he's going to be harder to play for. Yes, he's a perfectionist. Yes, he's demanding. But you want that. If you're truly great, you want someone that's going to push you and drive you and make you want to be a better football player.
Yeah, and if I can catch 120 balls this season, I don't really care how much he yells at me or anything else, right?
I love it. Oh, speaking of quarterbacks, how concerned are you about that plantar fasciitis with Justin Herbert?
No. I know about plantar fasciitis because basketball players often get it. And I've got friends who've had it. I had a little dose of it once in my younger days. It takes a long time to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah, and he's going to be in a boot for 2 weeks. That's a little scary, too.
Is he going to be ready by the opener?
They're saying he is. Yeah, they're saying he will be ready by regular season opener.
Well, the good thing is he doesn't need to play in the preseason. I think they know what they got in Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and he'll be able – it's not an arm injury. It's not a knee injury. He'll be able to throw even with his foot in a boot.
How does that impact the glide theory?
Well, I think it kind of debunks the glide theory. The glide theory is supposed to ease people into training camp so they don't get hurt.
Yeah. Justin Herbert having plantar fasciitis and being in a boot for 2 weeks doesn't help anybody. That's not a good scenario.
No, it's not a glide, that's for sure.
Oh, my goodness. We don't need Jim Harbaugh getting this stressed out before the season even begins, Godfather.
No.
He was just starting to find his comfort zone and start to describe glide theory, and now he's worried about his quarterback, who he's in love with, who can do everything. We don't want... I talk about this all the time. Injuries in camp suck a big one. It's not a good thing. And now we have to worry about Justin Herbert being 100%. We want him at 100% because I think people are they are undervaluing the Chargers right now. I think they're going to win the division. I truly believe that. They're going to beat the Chiefs. They're going to win the division. Wow. And I'm not saying the Chiefs aren't going to be in the playoffs. I'm just saying I think the Chargers have a great chance to win the division because Jim Harbaugh is going to step in and he's going to do his thing, and you're going to see a different Charger team you've never seen before because they have genius at the top. I mean, I can't believe it. You take Harbaugh and Herbert together, well, what else do you need? Great coach, great quarterback. Boom, boom. Last year they had dumb coach, great quarterback. Not a good combo. But this year they got exactly what you need, plus a guy who's going to protect Herbert, a guy who's physical, who's nasty, who's mean, who wants to run the football. They're going to be tough on defense. For years, I would always think of the Chargers kind of, the powder blue and the this and the that, kind of a soft football team. Mm-hmm. And with Brandon Staley as coach, a dumb football team. None of that's true now. Jim Harbaugh is a smart guy. Justin Herbert's a great quarterback, and now with a guy that's got a plan and a system, and you were talking about that yesterday with Harbaugh, the details, everything they do in camp will have a purpose behind it. No wasted time on the practice field because Harbaugh knows what it takes to win.
Yeah. He knows how to get a team ready. Everything's planned out. If you asked him right now, he's got a practice plan for the day before the opener. I mean, he's got everything all down. Everything's covered. Just don't sweat it.
Well, we know how that sounds when Harbaugh's asking about Herbert and an injury.
There's no injury there with Rashawn.
It's not something that's well, he wanted to keep playing, so
Little thing.
Huh?
It's a little thing.
I don't know. I'm not going to categorize it. I'm not going to categorize it. What it is or what it is not. I'm just telling you, you're going to see quite a bit of that as we go through this first stage.
With Rashawn, though, we saw him leave practice yesterday, walk into the facility with trainers, and then you and Joe went over and had a chat with Mark.
Khalil. I don't know if did you see?
Yeah, I saw Josh Palmer, Hayden. But so Rashawn is the same as those guys, or it's a different situation?
Yeah, I'm not even categorizing it. I'm just saying just the exact word.
There you go. He's not going to categorize it. Hey, Coach, we saw Justin Herbert in a boot walking around. Is that a problem?
Yeah, I'm not even categorizing it.
All right, thanks. He's not going to categorize it, Godfather.
Well, it was a little different kind of boot, Chad. I don't know if it's really going to be a problem for him. Maybe we'll just let him play in that boot.
The coach,
what the heck?
He's a beautiful quarterback who's making hundreds of millions of dollars and is your meal ticket to a championship. What about the boot?
Yeah, I'm not even categorizing it.
All right, whatever. He's going to be like that all year when the injury report pops out. He'll get questions and he'll give you no answers.
He'll probably get fined somewhere along. Don't you think? Somewhere along the line, their injury report's going to be haywire. They're going to get fined by the league for hiding somebody's injury.
He would be a coach that would have that happen to him, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And he wouldn't care.
No, exactly. It's cost of doing business, man. That's what you do.
I like that saying. Hey, man, it's the cost of doing business. Yeah, I'm getting fined, so what? I didn't want to give up the information. Suck it.
It's like they used to say to Kramer on Seinfeld, it's a write-off. Do you know what a write-off is? Well, no, but it's a write-off.
I love that. Harbaugh, the other question I have about Harbaugh, I know he's going to be successful with the Chargers, no question in my mind, because he's great. But how long until he starts to wear people out around him?
Oh, it won't take long, will it?
It's probably already happening.
Yeah.
He wears guys out. He's too intense.
Yeah.
He doesn't have an off switch. He just keeps going. He's like the Energizer Bunny. It's all about focus, intensity, his theories, winning.
Probably some goofy stories along the way. Wouldn't you guess?
Oh,
there
my
are
goodness.
team meetings where he gets off on a tangent with a story.
I know that when he was with the 49ers, he wore people out like Jed York and Trent Baalke.
Yeah.
But I know why. Because Harbaugh, you know a guy like Harbaugh that's that smart and understands the game better than anyone, has had great success everywhere he's gone. There are times where people try to give him input, like maybe an owner or a GM, and he's like, what are you talking about? I know. You know, in his mind, he's like, I know more than you.
He's one of those guys, that old saying, he doesn't suffer fools.
No. Hey, Jed, I appreciate your input. I know you're the owner, but you do your job. I'm going to stick to football.
That kind of means you and me wouldn't have a lot of luck asking him questions, would we?
He has no time for someone like me. I'm an imbecile.
No, we wouldn't have a chance with him.
Hey, Coach. And he's crazy, too. One of my favorite clips of all time is when he's running off the field in Detroit and he slaps Jim Schwartz in the back. Little love tap. Mm-hmm. Schwartz looked back like, what the F is going on here? I think he wanted to punch him. Who does that?
Yeah.
Ran by, just gave him a nice little wham, and then kept on running into the tunnel because he's crazy.
Yeah.
But he's also great. So I don't know. We'll see how things shake out. But I would say probably about 3 to 4 years from now, you're going to hear rumblings of Harbaugh with all the great success starting to wear people thin because he's so intense. That's how I see that going down. And usually what that means is someone in the front office will get butthurt and sensitive about their job because they don't have the input because Harbaugh's got the power, and they'll start to leak out nonsense about how Harbaugh is, ruffling feathers or frustrating people or whatever the case may be.
Well, there's no question he's a threatening presence to people like that who are insecure.
Yeah, because he knows everything and he's going to have ultimate power.
Oh, and they know he knows more than they do.
That's got to be a great place to be, too, where you can go in and interview for a job and be like, yeah, I'll take the job, but here are my demands.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more like he's interviewing you. Yeah. Well, whatever.
Exactly.
Here are my demands.
Yeah. You're my boss until you're not.
Yeah.
And then I'll be taking charge.
He's basically like, look, I'll do your job, but I need this, this, and this. And oh, by the way, you got to stay out of my way. I don't want input. I don't want late night phone calls.
He says that kind of stuff. Stay out of my way.
Oh,
we'll do it my way or no way.
Well, he talked about it the other day when he was talking about, practice, coming out of the womb, and it's like being born again. No cell phones, no distractions. He probably gets really pissed when people hit him up with senseless nonsense, garbage that he deems a waste of his time when he's trying to build a winner, right? That's how he sees it. I love Jim Harbaugh. I'd like to hang out with him, but he wouldn't want to hang out with me.
I can't imagine even what it would be like to be one of his assistant coaches.
Oh, my gosh. What other theories?
Second guessing you all the time.
I want to know what other theories he's come up with, too. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
What other theories? All right, we'll keep things rolling here. Michael Shacker is giving me the stink eye like usual.
He's wildly
Don't distract the Godfather. It's like you start doing your hand waves and everything, and Godfather loses concentration and looks over because you're making such a fuss. Settle down, Shacker. It's a Friday. Relax, bro. Enjoy your weekend. All right, Rip City Drive. We'll keep things rolling. Jeff Roney with his incredible story going to join us coming up at 4:20. And then Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews, going to give you the full college football preview this year. And also, for you Duck fans, one of the most unbelievable things ever if it takes place this year. All right, Rip City Drive, the Godfather Dwight James, Chad doing with you. Jeff Roney going to join us in studio to share his story and encourage organ donorship. That's coming up at 4:20, and then Brett Ciancia with his college football preview at 5:20. What do you got cracking this weekend, man? What are you and Nancy going to be doing? Golf, tennis, watching the Olympics, everything?
I think it's going to be a lot of golf this weekend. If it, in the cooler hours of the day, I would assume.
Now, now we talked about this, I think yesterday. Yeah, because you had your sand trap issue when you fell down in the trap.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Evening golf after a full day of work, it's not a good idea. Morning golf for me is the best. When does Nancy like to play? Does she go early morning? Does she do afternoons? How does she roll?
She plays in the mornings. She was out. I think she had a 7:30 tee time today.
There's nothing better than this time of year. Like, I love the mornings, too, because, one, my mind is fresh, so I haven't been dealing with whatever the day's got for me. I'm not coming off a 3-hour talk show where I feel drained. But the mornings, I love I like the dew on the grass. I like the sun coming up. It's not as hot. I mean, when things really bake out on the course and it gets hot, like, I just don't need that in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. What about you? Do you prefer one thing or the other, afternoon, mornings, or like how? Because I know you get up early every day.
I get up early to work. I'm busy searching topics.
I know that, but wouldn't you wake up early even if you weren't working? Like on the weekends, do you sleep in or do you wake up at the same time every day?
No, I don't sleep in. I always wake up at the same time.
What time is that, 5?
No. I would say between 6 and 6:15.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm normally an early riser. Like right now, I wake up between 5 and 6 because my body's just used to getting up to go play golf.
Mm-hmm.
Now it changes a little bit during the Blazer season. Like if I do a Blazer game and I get off and I get home and it's like 12, 12:30, 1 o'clock before I fall asleep, I can sleep until like 8, 8:30. I try what I hope to do on most nights, and it doesn't happen when I get up early this time of year to go play golf. But I mean, for me to function at my best levels, and again, that's not saying much because I'm pathetic, but 7 to 8 hours is the perfect number for me, if I can get it. I can function on 5 to 6, but I prefer around 8. 8's kind of the sweet spot, if I can get that. The problem is with me, because of the hours that we work, I can't go to sleep early. I just can't. I like to stay up late watching, TV or YouTube or whatever. That's how I unwind after dinner. I like to watch a little tube.
Yeah, I think in this business, it's hard to go to sleep early because there's always something on TV that you probably should watch, And like with me, Major League Baseball, I follow the Braves a lot. I follow the Orioles. I follow the Indians. I follow the Dodgers and the Giants. Now I'm kind of looking at the Padres. So that's a lot of teams to keep track of. And somebody's always playing late. Somebody's always starting at 7 or 7:15, 7:20. So I'm up till 11 o'clock.
No, speaking of baseball, how about the Mariners going Hawk Tua in Boston? And they dropped that game in extras.
Yeah.
And then now they dropped 2 out of 3, and now they got 3 against the Phillies. That's brutal.
Well, the Phillies aren't playing well either. They just got swept by the Yankees. The Yankees all of a sudden have caught fire.
Yeah. They worked through their struggles, and now all of a sudden, I think Yankee fans still want Boone and Cashman both fired. They want a daily double. They want those guys out of there.
Well, they traded for Jazz Chisholm, and he hit 4 home runs in his first 3 games there. That's pretty good.
I've seen the highlights. I already love him. He brings a certain he's not a businessman like Aaron Judge.
He's not.
He's crazy.
Yes, he's not the plaid suit, button down guy. He has some fun out there.
I'm telling you, you need that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you need the naked pull-up guy. Someone that you walk into the clubhouse and you never know what you're going to get. And he keeps guys loose. Because, if you're always like business-like and you got the suit on and you got Aaron Judge, you need someone to break it up once in a while. You need someone who's a little bit crazy. You don't want a bunch of crazies, but just a little bit of crazy, right?
Well, the Braves, that World Series they won recently, went out and got Jock Peterson. He shows up at the ballpark wearing a string of pearls around his neck. 2 weeks later, they're having Pearl Night at the ballpark, and every fan in attendance gets this cheap string of pearls to wear, and they all did it. Pretty soon, they win the World Series without Acuna because they've got this wacky guy on the team that just can't help but have fun.
Who would have thought we'd get to a place in life where you're having pearl necklace night at the ballpark? That's incredible. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. When we come back, well, we're getting closer to our conversation with Jeff Roney, which is going to be really good. And then our college football preview with Brett Ciancia at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad? All right, Rip City Drive. We're about 20 minutes away from Jeff Roney, who is experiencing kidney failure. He's been on dialysis for quite some time. He's going to share his story. 30 years as a teacher and a coach. Won a state championship out at Seaside. Has been at Reynolds. He was also at Reynolds on June 10th, I believe, 2014, when the shooting went down. And he's a great guy, and he's got a great story. And we want to talk about the situation he's dealing with, how he's, continuing to fight, even when he has days where he feels like he wants to give up, and most importantly, the need for all of us to become organ donors. But real quick, Godfather, that video.
What?
How about Jimmer Fredette? That video that was floating around, what the heck was that? Was he getting a massage on his ding-ding, or was that like a growing pull or
he
whatever?
He had a groin injury, Chad. Nothing for you to make fun of now. It did look a little strange.
It looked really bizarre.
Yes.
I didn't know what was going on, but I'm like, I'll take some of that. I'll take some of that. Whatever you got going on there, I could use some of that. But Jimmer Fredette, like, I couldn't tell. I'm going to assume he was in pain, but it looked like he could have been in pleasure. But I mean, I've never had a tear, but I've pulled my groin before. That's not a good sensation.
I'm sure you've pulled it many times.
Well, I've tugged on it a million times, if we're just being real.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to go down that path. Like I've said, I'm not an expert on many things. I'm definitely an expert on that. 40 years of experience. And no sense or feel for retirement anytime soon, I can tell you that.
Moving along.
Jimmer Fredette's got nothing on me. All right?
Okay.
I want to play this. I know that LeBron James thinks he's the greatest of all time. And I know that his press company and all the people around him, his cronies, that come from his agency company, Clutch. I know they all think he's the greatest of all time. They're trying to spread those lies. But the truth is Michael Jordan. And we don't get to hear from MJ very often. He's too busy playing golf and doesn't say a lot. This guy, MJ's genius, man. Mm-hmm. He has the greatest career of all time. He disappears, and he rarely says a word until all of a sudden we get The Last Dance. But he doesn't talk. He doesn't create headlines.
Yeah.
Even when he was the owner in Charlotte, he never said a word.
Never once had to try and convince somebody he was the greatest of all time. Didn't put a fake crown on his head. Yes. Nothing like that, Chad.
He did not erect a... What was it that LeBron created? What do you call that? Not a statue, but
his own museum.
Yeah. There's no MJ museum erected by MJ. That's ridiculous. No. Michael would never do that.
No.
Well, here he is talking about, improving confidence in sports. Take a listen to MJ.
People put too much seriousness to, success and failure, especially on the basketball court. If you take a shot, you can only do two things: make it or miss. That's how simple it is. That's what you try to get to your kids, so they're not afraid of that simple act. When I took that shot, whatever shot it was, in my mind, first of all, I'm thinking I'm gonna make it. Secondly, if I don't, okay, we can come back tomorrow, work hard, make sure that when I get in that situation again, I'm gonna make the shot. But you don't put the end of the world on that one particular event. And kids sometimes have a tendency to do that. So you as a parent, you have to simplify it as much as possible to show them that either way, I still love you if you miss that shot. I still think you're still a great basketball player if you miss that shot.
That's amazing. It's amazing how a guy like MJ can simplify something like that so well. And I wish that he would talk more when he's got great advice like that.
Well, I wish he would have talked to Al-Farouq Aminu about that. Because he was afraid to take a shot. How many guys have we seen in the NBA afraid to take shots?
I agree. I remember that game one in 1991 NBA Finals, Lakers and Bulls. The Lakers actually won game one. It was the only game of the series they won before the Bulls ripped off 4 straight and won the championship. MJ had a great look at the end of that game after Sam Perkins hit the three to put the Lakers up. MJ got the ball in a perfect spot, elevated, put up the shot. It rattled around and popped off, and he missed. And after the game, someone said, how'd you feel about that look? He's like, felt great. I thought it was going in. Mm-hmm. You could tell it didn't even faze him. He's like, I know when I get in that position again, I'm going to make the shot.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been around basketball a lot. What do you think about his philosophy there?
Well, it's absolutely true. And I wish I could, and I coached kids for a long time, Chad. I wish I could have imparted that message to them. I wish I could have told them that. Don't, just shoot them. Shoot them. If it misses, it misses. You'll make the next one, or you'll make 5 in a row. Who knows? Just shoot them. Shoot the ball. Because kids are, when they start playing, they're all afraid to shoot the ball.
Yeah. Kobe had the same mentality. I still love it. And I've shared the story before, but after one of the games here at Moda Center, he had one of his classic high-volume, bad shooting nights. He never seemed to play well for the most part at Moda, neither did the Lakers, but I think it was like 12 of 28 or like 12 of 33. It was a bad shooting night. And one of these toolboxes in the press corps asked him, said, Kobe, you only shot like 12 of 33. Don't you feel like maybe you should have gotten your teammates more involved? And you could feel the blood pressure and temperature rise in his body for a moment. And Kobe was looking straight out in front of him, and the guy was kind of to his left. He turned his head, looked at the guy directly in his eyes. There was a pause for about 2 or 3 seconds. He said, "I'm a shooting guard. Get over it." He was basically saying the same thing. My job is to shoot. I'm going to get my positions. I'm going to put up the shots, and most nights are going to fall. But when they don't, so what? I'm a shooting guard.
Yeah.
I did what I was supposed to do. You're not going to make shots every night.
Yeah, nobody's ever perfect at their job. Not every day. Nobody.
That's true. I love that. But again, why doesn't Michael talk more? We need more of that from the greats. He's got so many great things to share.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question, Chad. I wish I knew the answer to it. I think he's one of those kind of people. He's always kind of kept to himself,
Did you ever interview him?
Many times, yeah. I had a one-on-one with him in a locker room in Sarasota, Florida, when he was playing baseball for the White Sox.
You did?
In spring training. It was spring training.
Damn.
He was taken out of the game in about the 6th inning. And I just wandered down, walked into the clubhouse, and there he was, taking his uniform off, and we sat and talked. He knew me a little bit from basketball, and we talked about his struggles trying to play baseball, and he was great.
Did he enjoy talking baseball with you?
Yeah, he was very forthcoming about that. Yeah, he but I was kind too, Chad, because I know how hard it is to play baseball. So it was like, what's giving you the most trouble? How are you doing? What are they throwing you? How are they getting you out? How frustrating is it? Do you worry about striking out, or do you care? All these things that you'd ask a baseball player. And I think he's fine. At that time, he was fine answering baseball questions. I don't think he wanted to talk too much basketball.
No, it was all about baseball then.
Yeah.
Do you think he had the same type of short memory as a baseball player like he did on the basketball court?
I'm not sure of that, because that takes a while to acquire. That first year, or that year he played for Francona in Double-A, he got off to a bad start, and it took him a long time to kind of right the ship. But they say by the end of the season, he was going to be okay. Now, I don't know. I didn't think he'd ever be a big league player. He just jumped on it too late. If he'd have started a little younger, maybe.
Then he probably would have with his natural ability,
Yeah, it's
right?
just so hard to hit. But his athleticism, and I think he would have had power. He's strong enough, quick enough with the bat that he would have had power.
What was giving him the issue? Was it the off-speed stuff? What was killing him?
Yeah, changing speeds, I think, and just acclimating in the beginning, acclimating to the fastball. I mean, those guys throw a little harder than the last time he played.
That's a good point. It's not just the movement that can F you up. It's the that guy just threw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
The velocity is tough to adjust to. Once you get that down, then they start throwing you curveballs. It's a little tougher. But
see, I look at everything differently with MJ, where a lot of people look at two things. They look at his time with the baseball as a failure.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I look at it as a major success, because how many guys that late in his career, having played multiple years in the NBA, have the nuts to go out and play baseball like that?
Yeah.
And especially to be a superstar, global icon, to humble yourself playing a game that's nearly impossible.
Chad, that's the biggest lesson in the whole thing. This guy who's been the best ever in basketball is willing to go down and strike out. I mean, he struck out time after time. And by saying strike out, I not only mean he had 3 strikes on him, but he didn't make it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was kind of, in a lot of people's eyes, he was a failure. There's not a lot of people with the kind of ego that will allow him to go anywhere and fail. Anywhere.
LeBron would not do that.
Oh, God, he can't. He can't fail in anything.
No, but MJ, the willingness to go out there and fail, that tells me everything I need to know about him. That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
To go from being the greatest at your craft to being humbled, riding around on a bus, going to different minor league ballparks and struggling.
It's amazing. It really is amazing.
Yeah. And you know as well as hitting a baseball is
hardest single thing in sports.
No question about it.
I don't think there's any doubt.
The other thing that people criticize, of course, is his time as an owner with the Bobcats.
Right.
He couldn't put a team together. He was a great player, but couldn't pick the right players and put a team together. I understand that. He didn't have the on-the-court success that I'm sure he wanted. But the way I look at that is, he became the first former player to become a majority owner of a team. That's the win. That's the key.
And how many hundreds of millions of dollars did he make off that team?
More than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
So that's how you have to look at it.
Well, he's a successful businessman. He always has been.
He's a trailblazer. How many players, because of MJ and what he pulled off, are going to be able to have access now? He's the one that started that. The first former player to become a majority owner of a team. That's unbelievable.
Why do you think LeBron wants to own a team?
Well, of course. He's got a copy.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to chase him down. But that's the way I look at MJ. Yeah, he didn't have. I know. He picked Kwame Brown. It was a bad pick. Couldn't put a team together. But he became the first former athlete to become a majority owner. That is, if that's not success, I don't know what the heck that is.
Well, and don't you think? I mean, my perception of that, without being on the inside, would be he owned the team. I don't know really how much attention he paid. He's on the golf course all the time.
Was he breaking down tape and actually selecting players himself?
I doubt that there was a lot going on. He did what you're supposed to do as an owner. He hired people to do the job for him, and they didn't do a very good job. And that's his failure too, I guess. But there's a lot of owners who don't spend Paul Allen-type hours looking at videotape of players.
Yeah, the only failure I can see with MJ is what happened with him and his son to where his son felt the need to go out and tap Scottie Pippen's ex-wife. That's the only thing I need to know. What's up with that? Hey, son, you've got your pick. You can have anyone, but why her? Well, why are you going after her? You trying to create problems in my life, brother? Come on, son. Son, really?
I don't know. There's one side of me saying, in a way.
You think MJ encouraged it?
They never got along all that well. And really, when you think about it, hey, my kid, here's what my kid is doing, okay? How do you like that? How do you like that?
Yeah. Remember that book you wrote, Scotty? When you called Phil a racist and all this nonsense?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I don't get mad. I just get even.
Yeah.
Hey, son, I got a job for you.
Yeah.
I can handle that, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm your guy.
He got even with Scotty by remote control.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe I didn't know that story. Again, I learned something new. You got a chance to spend some one-on-one time with MJ in his baseball days. That's cool. And you're getting a chance to talk with him about your passion and love, baseball, and something that he was right in the middle of baseball and this new venture he was embarking on.
Yeah, he was in spring training.
But nothing can humble an athlete like trying to hit a freaking baseball.
Oh, man.
Gosh, some of the great hitters go through those slumps, and they probably feel like, hey, am I ever going to hit a baseball again? I can't imagine
Big
what that
league
feels like.
players go through that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Great players who go through a slump, and they're like, am I ever going to be able to get a hit again?
Well, and they'll tell you, a lot of guys will tell you the hardest part about being a hitter in the big leagues is you succeed. If you're really good, you succeed 30% of the time. That means you're hitting 300. Hardly anybody is hitting 300 anymore. So there's a lot of guys walking to the plate and then walking back with a bat in their hand.
30% of the time.
Yeah, that's a 300 hitter.
And you're considered elite.
Yeah, that's a big deal now if you hit 300.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here. When we come back, Jeff Roney, a longtime teacher and coach here in the Pacific Northwest, going to share his story, and we'll talk about the importance of organ donorship, and then we'll have our college football preview with Brett Ciancia coming up at 5:20. Hope you're enjoying your Friday. It's the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. All right, Rip City Drive with the Godfather, Dwight Jaynes, and Chad Doing. Hope you're enjoying your Friday afternoon. And we're joined right now, Godfather, by a very special guest and someone I've known for quite some time. Very happy to welcome Jeff Roney in studio. I think this is the first time on the Rip City Drive. Jeff, long time no see, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great.
All right.
It's great to see you.
You've got to let everyone know. I know you as coach, but give us some background on your time in the area in the public school system. What have you done and where have you been over the years?
Well, I graduated from Reynolds many, many years ago. From there, decided to go to Linfield College and become a teacher. And since then, I've worked in Seaside and Scappoose and back in the Reynolds School District. And pretty much worked 30 years, coached about another 25, 26 years.
That's incredible. Football, right?
Football, yeah.
How about that, Godfather? He's a public servant, my friend.
Yeah, my hat's off to the coaches. I'll tell you what. It's not an easy job, and it hasn't gotten any easier over the last few years, right, Jeff?
Oh, it's gotten a whole lot harder, and my wife has one more year left, and I know she's looking forward to retirement just like I have been.
Well, Jeff, I was wondering, for a career path where you want to become a teacher and be involved and work in the lives of kids, how rewarding when you look back now over that 30-year period has it been for you with all the different relationships and kids' lives you've had a chance to touch?
Well, I'm just blessed to see my kids become attorneys and doctors and city council members and city officials and managers. It's just an absolute blessing to be able to see where these kids have gone and their wives and husbands they've married and their kids. Just a special opportunity as a teacher.
You notice that, Godfather? He mentioned doctors and lawyers and teachers. He didn't say talk show hosts, clowns that can come in and goof around all day.
Chad, he was only talking about the ones he was proud of. Okay.
That's right. Jeff, where did we first meet? I mean, I don't even remember. Do you remember the first place where we met?
Yeah, I mean, we met several times at Blazer games,
yes.
and then when you were at a different radio station for a while, and then of course we met at Camp Exceptional for a few years.
That's right.
My wife and I and daughter were volunteering, and your amazing son Isaac was participating.
Yeah, that was a great program. Isaac loves you, and he loves John Canzano and his brother Ben, and just being out there and having a situation where you have kids with special needs, getting a chance to compete and play with kids of normal abilities, to see them kind of come together over the course of the week with the camp, I thought was pretty special.
Yeah, it was a great time. My wife and daughter and I enjoyed it very much. John took great care of us and took great care of those kids.
That's
great
true.
program.
Yeah, it's really good. Well, let's talk about you. You're in for, a very important conversation and one that's very special. We're going to deal with the importance of being an organ donor, and we'll get to that in just a moment because some of the numbers and the stats on that, it's concerning when you think about how many people are not signed up. And I don't think it's because they choose not to be. I just don't think a lot of people have really given it much thought and haven't taken the steps that are necessary. I'm an organ donor. Are you an organ donor, Godfather?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So the importance of it is great, and you're going to speak to that. But your situation is a story that I think is very touching, and I think a lot of people can relate to because there are other people here in the community, Portland, Vancouver, Southwest Washington, the whole area, who are dealing in their family with the same things that you are. But walk us through your issues right now that you're dealing with.
Well, I have known I've had diabetes since I was about 25. And I was always told that there could be a lot of problems that could come with that. And one of them is the loss of kidney function, which is something that I started to develop about 5-6 years ago. And then actually went on dialysis 3.5 years ago, very first day of COVID, actually. And I've spent the last 3 years pretty much focused on trying to stay alive, and dialysis is a big reason why I am here today. And so I did. I wanted to come and talk about the importance of organ donation. There's not many people that are donating organs upon death, or even living donors in some cases. And I would like to really bring attention to that. So that's what brings me here today.
All right. For those who don't know, can you give a very simple definition of dialysis and how often you have to have dialysis with the current situation you're in?
Well, I did want to talk about that as well. I'm very fortunate to be one of about 7% of dialysis patients that get to do dialysis at home. It's a process where the actual medicine goes in my body, takes my blood and pulls it out into a machine that cleans the blood and then puts the blood back into my body, roughly 75 times in a 4-hour period. And I do that 4 days a week. And I'm just so blessed to have my wife who works all day as a teacher, then comes home and sets me up on dialysis because she was willing to learn the entire process and learn how to put the needles in my arm and run the machine and set up the new bag for the next day. But it's a real in-depth process, roughly 4 hours of dialysis time and about a total of 12 hours of setup time.
Good gracious.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 16 total hours of just dialysis a week for you.
Dialysis and preparation and all that, that's in one day. And I do dialysis 4 days a week.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, you're here, and I think that's a good sign in a sense. How has this affected your mobility and just, your ability to function?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely taken away my mobility. I'm on off balance all the time. I'm drained all the time. After a dialysis session, it takes me a good day to get any kind of energy back in the body so that I can go out and do what I want to do on those days off. But it's very, very difficult. It takes a toll. Sometimes I wonder, and I should be careful how I say this, but there's been days that I've sat back going, gosh, do I want to continue doing this? Because it is a very, very much a challenge. I'd rather be teaching and in the classroom.
Sure.
Wow. Jeff Roney, who spent 30 years teaching in the local area, coaching as well as in studio. We're talking about his situation, dealing with dialysis and kidney failure. Now, I also know that you could be or possibly are in need of a pancreas. I got to be honest with you, Jeff. I didn't even know they could take a pancreas from somebody else and put that in your body or somebody else's body, and they can work that. Is that possible?
It is possible now. They can actually take somebody who's passed and donated their organs. They can actually take their pancreas and put it into my body and cure me of diabetes.
Wow.
So this can actually not only cure diabetes, but it can cure the kidney failure as well.
Get Dr. Nancy on the phone. Does she know about that?
I'm
Isn't
not
that
sure
amazing?
if she does or not, but that is incredible. Yeah. Now, you're on a transplant list. Is that right, Jeff?
Well, I've been recommended for the transplant list, so I haven't seen my name on the list yet, but I am in the hands of the doctors at OHSU who are preparing me for the list. And one of the things that they have to do is take me through a ton of testing. So I just had a nuclear stress test on Thursday, Friday last week, which came back great, which surprised me. So I was glad to hear about that. But there'll be another dozen or so tests that I'll have to take the next few months. Then I hope to see my name actually sitting on that list.
Well, Jeff, what is the process for getting on a list? Like if you need an organ, like you got to go through the process to get on the list. Like what is that process? How does that work?
Well, there's your Fresenius, my Fresenius clinic, my dialysis doctor, she's called a nephrologist. She checks to see if I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, which I have the last 3.5 years. I've completed everything that they've asked for. And then because of that, she feels comfortable that she can send me to OHSU for a potential transplant. OHSU then takes me through all of these tests. And then if I pass all these tests and I'm cancer-free and I'm heart disease-free and, they think that this is something that will work, then they can put me on the list and then start matching me with potential donors.
It's my understanding, Jeff, that they don't like putting people on a list where that organ isn't going to last very long. If they're haunted by another disease, they're probably not going to give you that, right?
That is correct. Yes, they've told me if you've had cancer, which I had just a tad bit of precancerous cells at one point, that can almost be enough to disqualify you. But in this case, they're saying that because of my background and my willingness to continue to work, And the fact that I've got a lot of people willing to donate a kidney, in fact, former students have even said they would donate a kidney.
Wow.
That I'm becoming more of this is somebody we think would take care of the kidney if given a second chance.
Wow. And the reason they give you two kidneys is so you can donate one, right?
Yes.
No, I mean, seriously, you can get along with one kidney, correct?
You can get along totally with one kidney. I've got a friend of mine sitting here now that's thinking about it, and it's just great to have people willing to consider those options for you.
Now, if you're waiting to get on a list and someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to donate my kidney to you," if it turns out it's a match, do you get to bypass the list if you've got someone willing to give you a kidney?
Yeah, they do something really cool. So if my best friend, Jeff, says he's going to donate a kidney to me, and he is not a match to me, they will put him in a group of, say, maybe 10 people, and his kidney would go to somebody in that group.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there's somebody in that group that's a better match to me, their kidney would come to me. So it's kind of a way to kind of circle it up and try to pass a kidney or...
So if someone is willing to donate to you, it could speed up the process to get you the kidney that you need if your friend or whoever is willing to donate is not a match.
Exactly right. Yep. And they just work around it by putting people in that group.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's amazing.
One thing I don't know the answer to is how long can you be on dialysis and survive? I mean, can you do it forever until that kidney comes along? How does that work?
Well, that's a little bit tougher. There's a lot of people that choose not to continue with dialysis at any point along the way. So there's that. There have been some people that have been known to be on dialysis for upwards of 15, 16 years. But at some point, your body's just going to give out. And so
it can't continue forever.
Can't continue forever.
And the people you're talking about that just choose to forego the dialysis, they're just giving up. They're tired of that process. They don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, they're tired of that process. Yeah.
Now, you're lucky. You're getting your dialysis at home. If you didn't, how costly is that process?
Well, thank you for bringing that up. Dialysis, it charges at $15,300 a day. And at 4 days a week, that's well over $61,000 a week. And so I'm literally a $10 million patient. They've spent well over $10 million in charges anyway. From what the insurance company pays, I don't know, but it's a significant amount of that.
Well, how in the hell can anyone afford that? That's ridiculous.
Well, I thank goodness that I have double insurance, and my wife is continuing to work on top of doing my dialysis.
Gosh.
Yeah, she's making major sacrifices.
All right. So clearly, with your situation, in need of a pancreas, and had no idea until I talked to you that they could put a pancreas in somebody else. That's amazing. You also need a kidney. So you need a kidney transplant. So this highlights the importance of organ donation.
Yeah, it's really, really important. There's 100,000 people on the list currently, and we do know that there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands more that never make the list.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And what percent of the people on the list eventually end up with a new organ?
Well, my understanding is about 1% will end up with an organ from somebody that's passed.
So simply getting on the list isn't much of a guarantee, is it?
Not much of a guarantee.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It just signifies how important your relationships are with, in my case, former students, former colleagues,
friends.
Best friends, family members.
Family, yeah. Is somebody in the family, do they have a better chance of a match than somebody outside your family?
Yes, because typically the genetics are more closely aligned.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm looking at numbers here, and let's see here. It says, although almost 170 million people are registered to be donors, only 3 in 1,000 people die in a way that allows for deceased organ donation.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, there's not a lot out there. We need as many people as possible to register as organ donors. I live in Washington. What is the process in Oregon for people to become organ donors?
Well, that's a great question, too. The DMV will allow you an opportunity to put a symbol on your driver's license so that if the medics come across you and you're deceased from a car accident, if you have a donor label on your driver's license, then they're sure to get you into the hospital as fast as possible so that you can donate your organs to somebody of need.
What's the biggest stress for you and your wife? I mean, in everything that you've gone through, like what is the biggest challenges that you face as a couple, as a married couple with the dialysis?
It's really rough on the patient. And I think your spouse puts up with an awful lot.
Because you feel like you're being a burden on your family,
Oh,
don't
I'm
you?
a heck of a burden on my family, especially my wife. She's driving 45 minutes into Reynolds every day and back on rush hour traffic to run the dialysis machine 3 days a week during the week and then on Sunday. And there's times I don't feel like she gets a break or a rest. And that's really hard on me as her husband. She deserves more.
You know, one thing I wanted to ask you about to highlight some of your teaching career, you were at Reynolds back in 2014 on the day of the shooting, weren't you?
I was, yes.
Walk us through that day.
Wow. I mean, my daughter and I got there. This is June 10, 2014. We got there at about 7:30 in the morning. It was the last day of school, finals, and I was helping the other PE teachers with lockers. We were cleaning out lockers and putting the stuff in bags so kids can pick up their stuff, and then about 8 o'clock or so, my daughter took off ahead of me, and then I went through the coach's office, started to head out to go to my room, and I spoke with Emilio. We were talking about football and the Ducks, I believe, and then I talked to the person who was doing the shooting, said good morning to him, had no idea. I had just no idea what was about to happen, and then I went to the gym to find my daughter, couldn't find her because she was supposed to be in the gym that morning. And there was 200 kids in the gym, and as I was going out the door, I heard gunfire. I turned and looked, and a bullet hit the wall, the brick wall, as I was heading out the door, and ran across the breezeway to my classroom and locked my kids down. And next thing I know, there was cops from everywhere. Cops from Walla Walla, the Dalles, Hood River.
Wow.
Hillsboro, Beaverton, you name it, Scappoose. They were coming from everywhere.
How long were you locked up in your room?
Oh, boy. I think it was a good hour. We were locked up in the room.
How terrifying was that 1 hour that you're locked up in your room?
It was pretty terrifying because I didn't know where my daughter was. And, I was just thinking about all those kids in the gym, and I had no idea what was happening. As I went out the door, though, this is just normal. The police officers, one went into the door I was coming out of, and one went to the front door. They cornered the shooter, thankfully. But because if he would have got loose in the gym, it would have just been chaos. It would have been just worse. Big nightmare. Already a nightmare. I still have that nightmare issues once in a while with that.
Oh, boy. I bet.
Yeah, June 10th, 2014, that date, I mean, that's burned in your memory forever.
Yeah. I could hear the bullet. I could hear it. It's kind of like it happened yesterday, but it's been 10 years now.
Incredible. So, Jeff, people can help, and I'm sure they've heard your story today and they'd like to help. How can they do that?
Oh, I would really appreciate people talk to their families and talk about the idea of organ donation and making sure that when you get your license renewed that you check yes on that donation and put that symbol on your driver's license. And you could do a lot in setting up a will in advance. My wife and I got our will as soon as I found out. We set up our will, and that was an opportunity for everybody in my family to start talking about donation and how that was going to work.
We did that too. That's a good time to do it.
Good time to do it.
What if someone listening wants to see if they're a match to donate a kidney? How does that work?
They need to call OHSU Transplant, let them know that they'd be willing to donate a kidney to somebody in need. That would be the first place. And then, of course, I think Legacy now has a transplant unit, and they could contact Legacy as well and talk to the transplant team there and offer it up that way as well. And then, of course, go to the person that you're willing to be a match for or try to be a match for if you know somebody that's in that position.
Well, you're a big sports fan as well.
Yeah, I love sports.
Who are your teams?
Well, I'm a season ticket holder to the Raiders. I bought the season tickets to the Raiders before they started building the stadium and before I knew I had a kidney problem.
Yeah.
In fact, my wife and I had accepted jobs down in Las Vegas because we were going to go down there and live and teach. Yeah. And so I just ended up keeping the tickets, and the demand for the tickets, I sell them for more than what I pay for the season tickets. So
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate the Raiders.
I know you do.
Just being honest.
So
I despise them, actually. No offense.
I remember sitting there with my family watching Kenny Stabler and my mom and dad going berserk because Kenny Stabler was throwing touchdowns all over the place. And I think that's how I grew into liking the Raiders. And then I grew up a big Blazer fan. Love the Blazers. Not happy with where we're at currently, but I love the Blazers nonetheless.
That could be part of the reason why you're having health issues right now. It's been some tough years. It caused a lot of health problems, I could tell you that much. I'll say this about Raider fans because I, spent some time down in the Bay Area. When you get down there and you're hanging out, tailgating and bumping around with Raider fans, they're a good time.
Yes.
They're a good time. I'll never forget. I got off BART. First game I'm covering. I'm walking across the bridge over to the Coliseum, and right in front of me, there's a guy, like big dude with Stabler jersey on, and this is a big dude. And in his back pocket, he's got a fifth of a Hennessy.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Welcome to Raider Nation, baby." And I was like, "That's hardcore. That's cool."
Yeah, it's a great time. We've only actually been to one game because it's hard to travel, and we went to Kansas City last year because that's my wife's team. And had just an absolute blast. My wife's wearing her Kansas City jersey, and the Raiders fans are, "Come on in, let's go, let's have a party. Here's a drink." It was pretty sweet.
All right. Well, if you're listening out there, and obviously hear Jeff's story, it's it's touching, but you just got to become an organ donor. Sign up for it. I've got the donor with the little heart symbol on my driver's license. I'm sure a lot of you are. If not, it's very simple. Go to the DMV and make sure that you get that changed over. So that way, when you pass, you can save someone who's got life that's in need. That's really what it comes down to. And what are you going to do? Like, I know for me, the way I look at it is like, when I'm done, when I die, my organs aren't going to do me any good. Might as well pass them on to somebody else.
Yeah, your legacy lives on.
Yeah.
You can leave a legacy for somebody else so that they can enjoy
that's what
the
it's all
rest of their
about.
life. Yeah.
I'm still blown away by the pancreas, too. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Pancreas. They can do everything now, Godfather. Isn't that
Incredible.
awesome?
Medicine is amazing. If we could just eliminate big pharma from it, it'd be even more amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you didn't have to pay so much for all that medication, right?
Yeah.
Gosh. How much longer do you think you could do dialysis? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, oh yeah, a lot.
Are you getting close to the end where you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore?
Well, I mean, there's a day here and there where it's really rough. The arm hurts, the machine goes off, 50 alarms in a 4-hour period. There's been a few days that I've like going, God, I don't know if I can do it one more day.
What does your family want you to do?
They want you to fight.
Fight.
And, I'm been a very successful coach and I hope teacher, and I'm trying to use that, fall back on that to keep me into the win mode.
How would you coach one of your players through what you're going through? Tell them to fight?
I'd tell them to fight and bust their ass. Yeah, you can do this. I mean, there's no greater challenge. I've won a state championship, but there's no greater challenge than trying to keep focused on the mission at hand, which is saving my life here.
What year did you win the state championship?
94 was Seaside. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Oh, it was just amazing.
But, hey, they haven't won too many of those either, I bet.
Two,
yeah, and you got one of them, huh?
Yeah, and can I share a little quick story about that?
Yeah, do it.
So we played Junction City in the semifinals, and that was Wilcox.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's the Wilcox.
How good was Wilcox?
He was amazing. He was everything anybody said he was. He was great.
But you stopped him?
Yes, he was trying to win number 2, and we beat him in overtime, 13-7.
Wow.
But the funny thing is, Seaside's first championship was against Vail with Justin's dad.
Sure.
Trying
Dave.
to repeat at Vail.
Yeah.
So Seaside beat the Wilcoxes in repeating twice.
They were sorry to see you guys coming. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I don't think they even take many vacations down there at Seaside in that family.
I don't think we'll ever see them down there.
What is Seaside's? Is it Seagulls?
It's the Seagulls, yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. All right. Jeff Roney in studio joining us. Well, Jeff, obviously you know this. I love you, and I'm just glad you came in studio and shared your story. And guess what? You did just fine.
Right.
These guys kill me, Godfather. He is just like Alex Brink. Oh, can you send me the topics to make sure that I know what we're talking about? Why, Alex? You know everything about football.
Yeah.
Jeff comes in. He's like, well, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm like, dude, you're a coach, and you've been teaching for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And you're scared of a microphone, and you crushed it. And look over at your brother. Did he not do a heck of a job? Yeah, so you got the nod from the bro, man.
Yeah, this is a tough guy. You can tell. Football coach all those years.
The guy deals with
He's a tough
20
guy.
hours of dialysis a week. He's definitely got a handle on a microphone.
Yeah.
Well, is there any final message you want to deliver before we let you go, my friend?
No, I appreciate you guys having me here, and I appreciate all the listeners, and hope you guys will have conversations with your family, deep family, as many as you can about the idea of being an organ donor. I don't think there's any better thing that you can do when it's time for you to go, is to be willing to donate your organs and keep your legacy going.
All right. Big thanks to Jeff Roney. And you can check out, if you would like more information, you can go to GoFundMe, and you can check him out. Just do a Google search, Jeff Roney, and GoFundMe, and you'll find his page right there.
I've got a link on my X account right now.
You put it out there right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Godfather's
Yeah.
got a link on his X account for Jeff Roney's GoFundMe page. You can help out the family with the extreme costs. And I believe, was it Brianna that put up the write-up?
Yes.
Yeah, Brianna put up a nice write-up for Jeff up on the page, so you can read that and get more on his story. Thanks a lot, buddy. You're welcome in studio anytime.
Thank you. It was great to be here.
All right, big thanks to Jeff. We'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad on 620 Rip City Radio, your home of the Portland Trailblazers. All right, Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Hope you're enjoying your Friday. Coming up in 20 minutes, you're going to get the complete college football preview with Brett Ciancia. We'll find out about the Ducks. Will they win the Big Ten? And if not, will they be in the playoff? And if so, who might they be facing? I think you're going to like what he has to say about the Ducks in their first round of the college football playoff, which is going to be expanded this year out to 12 teams. We are in a brand new era of college football, and I'm excited this year, Godfather, because I think the 12-team playoff is going to be a smash hit.
Oh, absolutely. We've waited so long for a real playoff.
There's no question about it. Now, we're going to go back 28 years here in just a moment with something that I think, Dwight, you were there. Is that correct?
I was in there, yeah.
Okay.
I was in that gym.
That's amazing. We'll talk about that here in just a moment, but I want to talk about this real quick. Jimmy Traina put this out on X, and I like what he had to say because this is the reality for all of us. He says, you still need CBS to watch the NFL and NCAA tournament. You still need NBC to watch the NFL and college football. You still need Amazon to watch the NFL and the NBA. You still need Netflix to watch the NFL. You still need blah, 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 blah. Pay if you're a sports fan. And that's in regards to the new breaking news story. The new Disney, Fox Sports, and Warner Brothers Discovery Sports streaming service, Venue Sports, $42.99 a month.
God, that's high. I mean, really.
$42.99 a month. That's outrageous.
I think at that price, with the economy being the way it is, that's going to be a tough one for them to sell.
These are the type of prices that push people into the various forms of streaming options out there.
In other words, piracy.
I've got a few days to make my decision on what I'm going to do with the NFL ticket. Do I use the ticket or do I use the other means that I just mentioned?
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling like I may consider options just because the cost is getting out of control, Godfather.
It is, yes.
And you even told me that like you're paying for so many different streaming services that you don't even know which ones you're paying for.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it all straight now because I'm trying to cut a couple out. I did drop Fubo because the only reason I had that was for the Pac-12 network. And they're gone, so I don't need that one anymore. But I still got 3 or 4, I mean, at least. I don't know how many I have.
My golfing buddy Glenn was just complaining about Fubo or what do you call it? Is it Fubo?
Fubo.
Oh, Fubo, whatever. He was complaining about it because, like, dang, they got all these channels, but there's nothing ever to watch on it.
Yeah. Fubo is F-U-B-O. Just so you know.
Wow, we're getting a little bit naughty here on a Friday.
F-U-B-O, Fubo.
F-U-B-O. B-O.
Just telling you, that's all.
No, the B-O is funny. It makes me laugh because when I would drive out when I was younger, I'd go to visit my mom's mom, so my grandma. I called my dad's mom Nana and my dad's dad Papa, so Nana and Papa. But on my mom's side, it was just Grandma and Grandpa. But when you would drive from Manford, Oklahoma, out to Ponca City, it was probably about a 90-minute drive. But you'd always have to drive by. The one thing that Ponca City has is a gigantic refinery, a Conoco refinery for gas. And that's where, for years, that the majority of people in town worked at the refinery.
Yeah.
And Papa worked at the refinery. But when, driving out there you drive past just
that
miles of
smelled
field.
Really nice. Huh?
Yes, it smelled wonderful. And that's why, because it smelled so wonderful, my nickname for it was B.O., B.O. And so I would just say, are we going to B.O.'s house? Because that smell, driving past the refinery for miles, the smell never leaves you. It was terrible. So there you go. That's my B.O. story. F-U-B-O. Fubo. All right, I want to play this. It's 2 minutes, but Dwight was there. I, again, had no idea, but The Godfather was there, and I think it's something that you'll enjoy. But take a listen to this, and then The Godfather will share his insight. 28 years ago today, this involves an emotional Kurt Angle at the Olympics.
They can't decide. There it is! And it's going to be Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle of the United States!
It couldn't have been any closer. 2 passive calls apiece. The score tied 1-1. It came down to a referee's decision, and Angle had the last That might have been the turning point in this referee's decision. A hard-fought match by both.
Well, it won't get any closer or more dramatic than that anywhere. Kurt Angle is crying, Jeff. Everything has been spent here. The moment of truth. He said in an interview after the 95 World Championships when he won, they asked him what he was going to do, and he said, I'm going to go to 96, go for the gold.
I saw you kneel on the mat and pray. Were you talking to your dad?
Oh, yeah. My dad's always with me. Dave Schultz, my Uncle Fred, my aunt, my grandmother, they're all together pulling for me, rooting for me up there. And I know it came down to that. I knew they were with me. I wasn't sure if I won. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I can't believe this. All I wanted to do is win a world championship and an Olympic gold medal. And I did them both. If I died tonight, I'd be the happiest man in the world. I love you, Mom. I did that one for you.
What did you say to your dad?
I just said thanks, Dad, for watching over me. He's always there. There's no doubt about it. I love him so much. I really do.
Congratulations. You're the world champion, and now you're Olympic gold medalist. Congrats.
Wow.
A lot of people know Kurt for pro wrestling, and I think there's a lot of people unaware of what a great amateur wrestler he was.
I had no idea.
Oh, God, he was incredible, Chad. He won a gold medal with a broken neck. He had a broken neck. He went and got it repaired after the Olympics. But I was there, and this is kind of weird. I knew his story.
Where was this at?
This was Atlanta Olympic Games.
Atlanta,
yeah.
okay.
And my memory tells me it was almost like in a high school gym, because the wrestling at that time was not a big spectator event, you know, but it was packed because of him. And he was terrific and so tough, and he kind of outlasted his opponent, one of those, as I recall, one of those European guys who never loses.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning the referee's decision. Nobody knew when the thing ended who had won. They finally raised his hand, and it was like chaos. He had won.
Did you think he had won the match?
You know, I wasn't enough of a wrestling aficionado, amateur-wise, to know, but he was more aggressive, and he did have the last shoot. You know, in wrestling, when you shoot at a guy, you go for his legs and try to take him down. And he had the last one, and I think that was a big deal. And the way he reacted was incredible, and to see him do that was just amazing. And you talk about Olympic moments. I had about 3 in those Olympic Games, and that was one of them for sure.
Wow. Well, what were the other moments that you recall?
Well, the one I remember the most was
Ali lighting the torch.
I watched that on TV because we only had, at the Oregonian, we had one ticket.
That's right.
I told you Steve Dean went, so I didn't get to go. No, I remember the women's basketball team winning, and Katie Stedding was there. She had graduated from Lake Oswego High School. I'd followed her career, knew her a little bit, interviewed her several times. She won, and she was coming off the court with her, not the court, the medal stand with her gold medal around her neck. And they have at the Olympics what's called a mix zone, where the media and the athletes mix, although there's a rope in between us. So you can't mix too much. But she came off, and she was so excited, tears streaming down her face, and she saw me. She came running over, and she goes, "You want to feel this medal?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. I want to feel that medal." It was just really cool.
What, how, I've seen him on TV, but I've never seen a gold medal up close. How beautiful and shiny is the gold medal when you see it?
You'd want one.
Yeah.
That's what I say. If you've never seen one, you think, man, I'd give to have one of those, because they're so special. They're not extravagant. They don't have a lot on them. They're really kind of a work of art, though.
And for most of them, they spend a lifetime building up to that moment to achieve the goal, right?
That's what makes them so special, is that, these kids, adults, spend their life trying to work toward that. And it's incredible. It really is.
That's amazing. That's what frustrated me about the opening ceremonies. The opening ceremonies should be about the athletes.
Yeah.
And what they're about to tackle and what they're going to be taking on,
Yeah, and a lot of people liked them arriving this year on those barges in the river. But for me, the thing was always them walking into the stadium.
Yeah.
The U.S. would have like 500 athletes, but it would be a thrill to see them walking into the stadium.
Wow, that's incredible. All right. You got something else you want to add?
No. I was just going to say it was really fun thing to cover. It was an enormous pain in the ass, though, being there because you couldn't get anywhere. It was Centennial Park bombing. We were staying way out in Emory College dorms, and that wasn't good because I didn't have a bathroom in the room.
Oh, gosh.
So it's about 100
A shared bathroom?
Yeah. No, not shared. I just didn't have one. Yeah, shared 100 yards down the hallway. Yeah.
No thanks.
So, I went and got I can't remember whether I had to buy pickles or what. I had to buy something to get a quart jar so that I could take care of my toiletary needs during the night.
Oh, my gosh.
It was.
I have to admit, I don't like sharing things like that.
No.
I remember when I lived in Colorado, we had a party line that was shared with like 3 or 4 other houses.
You should explain that because people nowadays have no idea what a party line is.
Well, a party line was a situation where, we lived up on top of a mountain, Conifer Mountain in Colorado. It was, just about 20 minutes outside of Denver, but we're way up there. So they didn't have all the lines and everything where you could have an individual line for each house. And so you would share a phone line with like 4 other homes.
Yeah.
So you'd pick up the phone to call one of your boys and someone would be on the phone.
Hello, Jennifer. This is your dad calling.
So it was always a little bit weird because anyone in any of those houses could pick up the phone and listen to your conversation.
Yeah. And then didn't you, when it rang, didn't you have your own particular ring?
Yes.
Don't worry, don't answer it. It's not our ring.
Yeah.
I remember people saying that.
The whole deal. But that was annoying. It's like you couldn't just use the phone when you wanted to use the phone. And keep in mind, there's no cell phones back then. So you had to wait until they got off the get off the phone. I got to call my girlfriend, you morons.
Yeah. There's a lot of people now that don't even understand the world before cell phones.
I remember when I lived in the neighborhood in Manford where there was no 3-digit prefix before the number.
Oh, yeah.
I had Nana's number, I still remember it, 2301.
Yeah.
2301, and they would ring Nana's house.
Ours was 1654, and then they came in with prefixes, and it was East 1654.
East.
And it was EA, East. And they always give you, like it was Belmont, because you couldn't remember 2 letters. You had to have the whole word, and Belmont was BE.
That's amazing. I still remember the house number before, cell phones came on. It was 573-9716. When I got my first line, I was probably like 18, 19. My dad got me my own phone line in my room, and that was pretty cool. That number was 576-4405, and I had an answering machine on it, the whole shebang, so I thought that was pretty cool.
But you remember the time before you had to dial the area code before you dialed the number?
Yeah.
When they brought those area codes in, that was a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it was.
Too.
It was like, oh, great, the area code. Because I grew up, first of all, I went from 4 digits to the prefix, so then you had 7 digits.
Yeah.
And that was
hard enough, right?
Yeah, that was hard enough. And then all of a sudden, then you got to add the area codes in. But, the thing is, like, what I noticed, I still remember all those phone numbers for one of my best friends, Corey, who I spent a lot of time with when I was younger, 573-9453. I think 9453 spelled wild, so it was like 573 wild. But you remember numbers because it was like...
well, you had to know them.
You had to know them.
Now I can't even remember my wife's phone numbers because I just push her name in my phone.
I know.
I don't know anybody's numbers anymore.
I know my number. I know my dad's. I know my mom's. But I don't know Isaac's off the top of my head or my daughter's.
Yeah.
But I got it right there on my phone.
Yeah.
But
you
that
don't need to know.
But that just shows the changes. You had to know numbers back then.
Yeah. It's tough now. If you lose your telephone, you can't call anybody because you don't have their number.
So sad. Yep. You can't find your way around town, and you can't call anyone because you don't know their number.
Yeah, and try to find a real map nowadays. Do they still sell road maps now?
And do they have? Are there payphones around?
Oh, hardly any anymore.
I haven't seen a payphone, and I can't remember when. But I remember we used to use those all the time.
Absolutely.
Like when we go to the movies, my mom would drop us over at Vancouver Mall or Hazeldale. She'd give me a quarter here. Call me when the movie's over.
I remember my mom saying, "Here, make sure you have a quarter in your pocket."
Man, times have changed.
Yeah, they have.
All right, it's time to take a look at the college football season. Brett Ciancia, Pick Six previews. Who's going to win the Big Ten, and will Oregon make the playoff? We'll find out next. All right, our next guest has put together and come up with a formula for his own college football preview. He's been doing it for years. He talks to the coaches, and he's got the formula which gives great prognostication. Go to his website right now, Pick6 Previews. Pick6 Previews, both the digital and hard copy are available for 2024, and college football is right around the corner, which is a beautiful thing. You can follow him on X at Pick6 Previews. It's great to welcome Brett Ciancia back to the Rip City Drive.
Hey, of course. Thanks for having me on. It's the best time of year. Appreciate that introduction. But best time of year. Everyone's undefeated. Everybody's optimistic. And we got a big season coming up. A lot of change happening in college football.
There's no question about it. That's where I want to start with you is change. What are you expecting this year with the conference realignment with two superpowers in the SEC, the Big Ten, and an expanded playoff with 12 teams?
Yeah, well, it's the 13th year I've done the Pick6 Previews magazine. It's a one-man show here covering all 70 teams. And I got to say, it's the most change I've ever seen. I mean, you have the bracket tripling in size from 4 to 12. You have it's really a shame what happened to the Pac-12. And I'm based out of Pennsylvania, but I'm one of those guys that's up till 2 a.m. watching the Pac-12 network, watching those crazy finishes. So I'm really going to miss it. It's really bittersweet to see that go. But I think with the super conferences, you're going to see a lot of new matchups, a lot of big time moments. So pros and cons with it all. For Oregon State listeners, I don't see any pro, unfortunately. And I hope they battle back to the Power 5 landscape soon because they deserve better than what happened up there. But yeah, so much change, not to mention the transfer portal, which, it's just crazier than ever. You have Saban retiring. It was a domino effect in the coaching carousel. So yeah, a lot to cover.
All right, with the 12-team playoff, with the landscape in college football, do you think now we're in a place where a two-loss team can get in?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You're going to see two-loss teams all in that bracket. So how it works here, the 4 conference winners get the byes, and then from there, 7 at-large spots go out. So when you look at it, you're going to have conference championship game losers. If you make it to the title game and lose, how will the committee handle that? That might be a team's second or even third loss. Should they get in above a third or fourth place team from the conference. So, yeah, you're going to see teams. It's just numbers. You're going to see teams with 2 losses, maybe even 3, if there's some conference title upsets. So, yeah, it's going to be a whole new ballgame. And on the cover this year, I put the new 12-team bracket, and I had to sit there and really play around with it to get it to be no rematches. And I know that the committee doesn't do that. They just rank them 1 through 12 after the byes and at large spots. So there's going to be rematches, unfortunately. And you could have rematches in the conference title game and then again in the bracket. So that is one new feature. Amongst all the positives, there'll be some cons too. Get ready for a lot of rematch ball.
Okay, Brett, I can't wait to ask you this. Give us your top 5.
Yeah, well, it's the 4 conference winners, Georgia number 1 and Ohio State number 2 out of the SEC and the Big Ten. And I think those are a little bit chalk, but they really have established themselves as the 2 superpower teams right now. Number 3, though, close, is Oregon. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on up here. It's really it's a great team. They were, a field goal away twice last year against Washington. And had the playoff been expanded last year, I don't know that Oregon would have won the whole thing. They were really strong last year, and they reloaded a quarterback with Dylan Gabriel. So Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon number 3. I have Texas number 4. Fresh off of a playoff bid last year. And then Ole Miss is a surprise team. I have them number 5. This is a team that doesn't recruit the best. They're usually around 25th in the country in recruiting. But with the portal king himself, he's dominated from the transfer landscape and has signed 17 4- and 5-star players the last 2 cycles. It's an all-star team now. So that's the top 5. Now, you have to mention here the automatic bid winners would be Utah and Miami out of the ACC and the Big 12. So, the bracket would have that 1 through 4 on the conference winners, but my power ratings do not agree with that. So it's 2 different rankings this year.
We're talking with Brett Ciancia, Pick6 Previews here on the Rip City Drive. You mentioned Dylan Gabriel. I'm an Oklahoma fan, born in Tulsa, Brett. I'm not sure Duck fans quite understand how good of a quarterback they're getting. How much drop-off, if any, is there from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel?
Well, I think he's going to be a great continuation. He's very veteran. I mean, we talked about Bo Nix last year being one of the most veteran players in college football history, the most starts. Gabriel is right there because he started all those years at UCF, led a great non-AQ offense down there, then went up to Oklahoma and was really in the thick of the Heisman race, too, mid-season last year. He had that great win over Texas, the comeback victory, And they were poised for maybe a playoff run or a Heisman run for him. And I look for him to continue that. And what you get is some mobility from the pocket, similar to Nick's, a good arm, and a very veteran presence. So he's going to be able to continue this machine. He's got a machine around him, I should say. He's got that great offensive line. Joe Moore Award semifinalist last year. Could win the whole thing this year with 3 starters back. And Tez Johnson at receiver. You can go on and on. It's a loaded offense. Question I had was quarterback before the transfer cycle, and then they answered that with an exclamation point. I think he enters 2024 as one of the Heisman favorites, if not the favorite.
Brett, I'm curious what you think now. You picked Ohio State to win the Big Ten. They traveled to Oregon fairly early in the season. How do you see that game going?
Yeah, well, that's going to be it's going to be one of the games of the whole season, not just in the Big Ten, but in college football. And it very well could be a 1 versus 2 matchup. And those are rare to get in the sport anymore. But with Georgia facing going into Tuscaloosa in late September, Georgia might get tagged with an early loss, meaning that it could be Ohio State and Oregon. But I think that all the talk is about how, how will the Pac-12 teams adjust to the Big Ten? Well, I think that Ohio State and those teams need to adjust because it's not the old Oregon. This is not the, 10, 15 years ago with the flashy offense. The gadget offense. This is a very strong physical team in the trenches, first built up by Mario Cristobal and now continue with Dan Lanning with blue chip talent everywhere. So Ohio State better bring their A game. And, with it being in Alton Stadium, I could see Oregon being favored that day.
Hey, Brett, Dwight and I have been talking about this for about the last week and a half. If it's not Ohio State or Oregon, who's the dark horse team in the Big Ten?
I think the dark horse would be Penn State. I have them 3rd in the Big Ten. If you want a really, really dark horse, I would even throw Iowa in there in 5th place in the Big Ten. Both these teams have excellent defenses and both have excellent schedules. Now, this is a new feature here with the super conferences that I've noticed is without the divisions, without East and West or North and South, and your common pool of opponents, these schedules are so scattered. I mean, you have some teams like Ohio State that draws the top 5 of the Big Ten, and then teams like Penn State who draws one of them. So, schedule imbalances are going to really be the new storyline, along with tiebreakers come the end of the season, because you're going to have a lot of teams that finish with identical conference records. And it's going to be all about tiebreakers and head-to-head. So Penn State with a great defense. The question was on offense, but they hired Andy Kotelnicki, one of my favorite coordinators. Had a chance to talk with him again. He led Kansas, their great revival. So now he has a lot better talent to play with here. 5 stars everywhere at Penn State.
All right, Brett, I want you to haul out your crystal ball on this one. You mentioned the Beavers. What do you see in the future for Oregon State and Washington State? What's going to happen there?
Yeah, well, it could go one of 2 paths. I think the one path would be merging with the Mountain West, and either becoming a Pac-14 or just becoming an expanded Mountain West, but essentially just joining those 12 teams. And you already saw that a little bit with the schedule agreement this year. But I think the other route, and I think this would be favorable for Oregon State and Washington State, is to get the Big 12 offer. And I think that the Big 12 might keep expanding. They've already shown interest in that region, bringing in Utah, Colorado, the Arizonas. They've already gotten some former Pac-12 teams. But, with Oregon State, they deserve a Power 5 bid. They have the fan base is passionate up there. They play physical football, and they just, they've been a long-time member of the power landscape. They got to get back in there. And we'll see if there's enough seats at the table. But if these conferences keep expanding, they got to get a seat at either in the Big 12.
We're talking to Brett Ciancia. His preview is out. Pick6previews.com. Go to the website. This guy is unbelievable. Dwight and I are huge fans of Kyle Whittingham. We think he's one of the greatest coaches in the country that no one knows about, and his program is tremendous. His players love him. They've got a bunch of experience coming back. How do you see the Big 12 shaking out this year?
Yeah, well, let's start there with Utah. In 12 years of covering college football, I've never seen anything like the injury run that they went through last year. And I know you hear a lot of fans and coaches complain about injuries, but I went back and logged the stats on this. 157 games lost to injury in their 2 deep last year. So much injury, and they still grinded out 8 wins. They had some marquee wins over USC, Arizona State, and Cal and UCLA. So long story short, they get the double whammy here. They get all those injured players back, and then also the young guys last year that were called into action early, they're now veterans too. So it's a very, very veteran roster, a proven coaching staff, a really tough defense. I trust Whittingham and Morgan Scalley to win the Big 12 in their debut. Second and third place runners up, I could see Kansas State and Oklahoma State And then the true wild card for me is UCF, a team nobody else has on their radar. I threw them in the number 25 spot nationally. I think I'm the only one with the top 25 bid for UCF, but a lot of speed down there. So that's my top 4, but I'm going to go Utah here.
Interesting. Hey, how do you see Oklahoma and Texas faring in that first year in the SEC?
Yeah, well, I think that they've really rebuilt their recruiting profiles. Texas has always been a top 5 recruiter, but for the longest time, it was all these receivers and corners, and there was no strength in the trenches. But they fixed that big time. And I think that coming in, they have a big offensive line, great quarterback with Quinn Ewers, a great quarterback pipeline going, and they're fresh off a playoff. So I think Texas is better suited to transition this year. But both of them have good long-term and intermediate-term outlooks. Oklahoma with their defense now under Brent Venables, they really needed that upgrade on defense heading into the SEC. The old Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch hair wouldn't have fared well in the SEC. Let's put it that way. So I think they're built the right way. It's just a really tough schedule for Oklahoma this year. One of the hardest draws. They got 6 of the top 8 in the SEC. So they might very well be a top 15 talented team, but they might barely get to win to bowl season with that schedule.
Wow, that's incredible. Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews here on the Rip City Drive. All right, lay it out for us, Brett. Which teams are going to make the playoff, and who's your eventual national champion?
Yeah, well, it's going to be an exciting run. You're going to have way more fan bases involved. But the way I see it, I have Georgia and Ohio State, Utah, and Miami winning their conferences. Those are your 4 bye games or bye week games. And then the rest of them will be Florida State at Ole Miss. And remember, these are on campus now. Florida State at Ole Miss. I have Alabama coming to Eugene, Oregon. That's the matchup we always wanted to see during the BCS era.
Wow.
Penn State heading to South Bend for Penn State Notre Dame. And then I have Texas hosting the final game, and that's against the non-AQ champion this year, Boise State. So Boise State heading to Austin, Texas. And now how special would those games be? You'd have playoff games in South Bend, Oxford, Mississippi, Alton Stadium, and Texas. So it would be awesome to see that unfold.
Who's going to win the championship?
Well, it makes for boring radio to call it out, but, I mean, Georgia has to be the pick right now. I know it's chalk, but when you look at their roster, there's so many All-Americans everywhere. And the thing that stands out this year, they return a lot of starters, more than usual. These dynasty tier teams usually cycle through players more often to the pros. They leave early for the pros, but everyone's back at Georgia, great quarterback. I'm picking them to win it all. I'd have Ohio State and Oregon, the close 2-3 pair there, the Big Ten winners.
All right, 2 other schools we got to know about. First off, what do you think about Jedd Fisch and the Dogs?
Well, I joked in the book this year. I didn't have enough room to write about all this. 2 pages wasn't enough because you went through an undefeated regular season at Washington, an incredible run in the national title game, almost a Heisman winner there with Penix, and then in a blink of an eye, everything left. So 20 starters are gone off of that national title team roster. Only 2 guys are back. They're both on defense. So it's a complete rebuild on both sides of the ball. I do trust Jedd Fisch. I had a chance to talk with him a couple years back when he got the Arizona job. Really an outlier. He came up through the game without playing football, but he has a great mind for offensive schemes and branding and recruiting. So give him some time. It's going to get back on track. But I think they're in for a big rebuilding year, similar to the year after TCU made a title run a couple years back where they lost everyone to the pros and they struggled last year. So look for a real transition year before they move up the ladder in 2025.
And what do you envision for Kalen DeBoer? How is he going to fit with Bama?
Yeah, well, when Nick Saban retired, it seemed like everybody almost just wrote Alabama off. Like, okay, that was a good run. That's all over. But now that the dust has settled, this is a really talented team yet again. There's 5 stars at every position group. And then Kalen DeBoer himself, I mean, he's proven himself at every level. D2, Indiana as a coordinator, Washington, obviously, the last 2 years. So I really think Alabama, as crazy as this sounds, I think Alabama is being slept on a little bit. So I have them actually getting an at-large bid. I have them 9th in the country in my power poll right now. And, that's a team that they might make the playoff 10-2 or something, but you really don't want to face off with them in a bracket by the time they go through all those extra bowl practices and a year of transition. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
All right, 2 more questions for you. We're really enjoying this conversation. First off, Arizona State, they're kind of my adopted children, from the Pac-12. What do you think about the Sun Devils year 2 under Dillingham?
Well, they got to bring back those Sparky helmets. I love that old logo.
Yeah. So good.
That retro logo. But, no, with Kenny Dillingham, he's got a really tough job. He inherited a mess down there. The NCAA investigation was going on, and then the transfer portal was a one-way portal, it seemed like recently. But they have my favorite player in the game with Cam Scatterbo. He's incredible to watch. He does everything. I mean, he runs the ball, he gets in wildcat, he throws the ball, he punts even. But no, I think I see Arizona State towards the bottom of the conference. It's going to need to be another rebuild. I really like the coordinator on defense, so Brian Ward. He got great defensive play last year, given what he was inheriting. But I still think they're a year away from really competing.
How many coaches did you speak with putting this year's preview together?
30, 40, something like that. It's like,
nice.
I try and talk to as many as I can. And if I can get a coordinator, great. If I can get the head coach, even better. Sometimes both. And that's a really rewarding part of what I do. And it's great to see it come to life because you hear them talk during spring ball, you hear them talk during summer, and then when you're watching in the fall, it's cool to see it come to life. So, and I love talking X's and O's and recruiting with these guys. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun to put it together. It's been an exhausting 2024 edition, given all the change, but really excited with how it turned out. And thanks for having me on, guys.
No, Brett, you're the best. Brett Ciancia, go to the website, pick6previews.com. The digital and hard copy 2024 preview is available now. And for you Beaver and Duck fans out there, you cannot be bumping around before the season without a preview, man. Get on top of this. Brett, you're awesome, man. Keep up the good work, brother.
Thanks for the praise. Appreciate it, guys. Good luck this year.
Boy, Godfather, Alabama at Oregon in the playoff. Please let that happen.
I think that's what you would call a delicious matchup.
It is a delicious matchup. We've been waiting for it for over a decade now.
Yeah.
Oh, we love Brett Ciancia. Big thanks to him. We'll come back and put a nice little bow on this show. And then, hey, it's weekend time, baby. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Godfather, just a few minutes away from the weekend, brother.
Yeah, I can't wait. Very excited about the weekend.
We'll get some golf in. I'm going to be down. I'm giving away some Harleys at Spirit Mountain Casino tomorrow night.
Oh, really?
Yep.
They're going to let you ride one of them? And you should get to ride one of them right into the casino.
I know. I want to so bad. I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I was younger, my dad got me and my brother riding motorcycles when we were little.
I knew that. Yeah.
So I was 7 years old when I got to ride a motorcycle by myself for the first time. My papa had a little 80 Yamaha, and when I cruised around the neighborhood on that and stuff, which was a lot of fun. And then I'll never forget it. It was 1987, and so for my 12th birthday, my dad, I had been begging him for years, like a three-wheeler or a quad runner or a motorcycle, because we lived up on a mountain where you could ride free, right? Like there's no cops up there patrolling on the mountain.
Yeah, right.
And I'll never forget it. He goes, "Hey, I need to go in town. You want to come with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And because I thought, well, he'll at least get me a Slurpee, you know? So
Yeah, right. There's always something in it, yeah.
And we drove to some residential spot close to Denver, and we pull in, and my dad gets out, and he starts talking to the guy at the house. And then they go into the garage, and he rolls out this red Kawasaki. And I was like, what's he doing? And then it all started to click, and my dad gave him the money for it. I think it was $400. Big money back then in 87.
Yeah.
And he loaded it up and brought it home, and the rest is history.
At 12, you were riding a Kawasaki?
Yeah, it was great. And it was a dirt bike, so it was off-road. So I was riding the trails, and this mountain was huge, so that I could be gone all day.
It's so funny when you say that. In those days, parents didn't worry too much about their kids' safety. You know,
No.
You probably didn't have a helmet or anything,
No,
right?
I
Just
had
off
no.
riding?
My dad on the motorcycle had to wear a helmet.
Yeah.
So I had a helmet, and I had a couple other friends on the mountain who also had motorcycles. So we would just every day was an adventure. I couldn't believe. I still remember like that night. It was in the garage, and I remember before I went to bed, I went out in the garage in my underwear and sat on my motorcycle like it was like it was the greatest birthday ever. I couldn't believe that my dad ponied up and got me a motorcycle. It was the greatest thing ever.
Wow.
It was so much fun. Now, if my mom would have seen some of the tricks and the jumps that we were doing on the bikes, it would have given her a heart attack. But, of course, we didn't share any of the dirty details with her. But I remember I had a buddy, Matt, who also had a Kawasaki, and we were gone all day. We'd stop off to fill up on gas when we needed to, and then we'd take off again. We ventured out to see if we could find all these different spots on the mountain. And then there were a couple of days where my dad and his best friend Dick and his son Dayton, where we'd load up the motorcycles and go to a specific like motorcycle park.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a good birthday. Couldn't believe. I mean, I was like blown away. Like that was like wow. That was a wow moment.
At 12 years old, you're off on a motorcycle.
Yes.
Wow.
That was.
See if that happens in today's world.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I remember walking up when my daughter was learning how to ride her bike for the first time. And so I was coming off work, and so I arrive at the school. Mom wanted her to practice riding around the track because it's a little bit softer. You know, if you take a spill on the track than it is on the concrete, whatever. But when I got there, I was like, what? I was like, what's going on here? She had knee pads, elbow pads, wrist guards, the helmet.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, no. So first thing I did was take off the knee pads, take off the elbow pads. I take off all that stuff. She wore the helmet. I was like, look, you're going to fall. It's okay. You're going to be okay. And then got her going and got her to take the ride. But it's like, that was the instinct of mom, was to let's put all the protective gear on. I just didn't grow up like that, man. When I took off on the first time on my bike, I had shorts and a T-shirt on with no helmet.
Yeah.
My dad's like, you got this. And then I thought he was holding the back of my seat. And then I looked back and he was like 50 yards behind me, and I'm just cruising down the roadway. That was awesome. Those are the good old days right there. That's a pretty big feeling of freedom when you can ride the bike and take off.
Motorcycles are kind of complicated for a young kid, I would think.
Yeah, my dad showed me basic maintenance and how to do certain things. Because you got a clutch, and then you had to. Back then it was a two-stroke engine, so you had to mixed oil and gas.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad, was big about teaching, safety and how to handle things properly. But up on the mountain, you would see a car occasionally pass by, but that was a rarity.
Did you crash that bike?
I wrecked a couple of times, but I mean, back then I was pretty like you just have no fear, right? So
Right.
you'd ride free and fearless, and
Yeah.
I got really good at it, balance wise, and learning how to handle the bike. The hardest part about transitioning to a motorcycle from a bike is that it's heavier, right? So it can tip over a little bit easier and stuff. So you got to be cautious there. But gosh, that was fun. Oh my gosh, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, my parents just like, here, go have fun. Take off on a motorcycle. You could die out there.
Here, Chad, get lost.
Here, strap yourself to this rocket. Oh, that was so much fun. Good times. All right, that's going to do it for us. Big thanks to Michael Shacker, to Jeff Roney for sharing his story. How good was Jeff?
He was great. And he was actually worried ahead of time about it. He was terrific.
Yeah. He and Alex Brink. Hey, man, you think I'm going to be okay? I think it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Jeff was great. Brett Ciancia, we need Alabama and Oregon at Autzen. That's my that's my dream right there. All right, you enjoy your weekend. We'll be back on Monday, Rip City Drive at 3 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.